Hi, I'm Christine, your pediatric feeding therapist, and here today to go over some registry items you might want to have in case baby ends up being a little colicky and uncomfortable by the milk that they are drinking, whether that be breast milk or formula. We have almost all of the babies that we see do have some form of discomfort, reflux, gas. And of course, my son had these issues as well. So I am pretty well versed in all of the different things that you can possibly use to help subside those symptoms and make them more comfortable. And it's really good to have on your registry because, you're not really, you of course put all of the essentials on your registry, but you're not always thinking like, oh, well, what if they don't react well to milk? What if they're uncomfortable? And when it's really late at night or you're just really tired, it's really just good to have these things on hand. So it's good to put on your registry. All right, so we always start first with what I would avoid putting on and why, and then I get into the good. So let's get started and dive in. Okay, so as somebody who's way more holistic than the average person, I would say, Mylicon gas drops, you can see here that they're made with something called simethicone, which is lab derived. So that's the reason I really avoid it, because it's not natural. So that means the body has to process it. It's a little extra hard to process things that are not that are synthetic and man-made. So I avoid Mylicon gas drops. I think there are better options out there. So I will, of course, go into those. Another thing I avoid is Tylenol. A lot of times Tylenol becomes a catch-all for, oh, baby's crying. I don't know what to do. So I guess I'll give him some Tylenol. Now, if they're just crying because of something like reflux or gassiness, Tylenol might help. It might not at all, because it's not really relevant to their problem. They're in pain because of gas, and you're still going to have that same gas and bloating whether you have Tylenol or not. But even though they make it now without dyes and high fructose corn syrup and parabens, all good things, it's still a lab derived substance that the body is going to have to process, right? So I avoid Tylenol, even for fevers. I avoid Tylenol, to be honest, but especially for things like gut discomfort, there's way better options that get more to the root cause than Tylenol would, right? It's like kind of putting a Band-Aid on it. And that Band-Aid may or may not even stick, right? So I would avoid this one. The other one I would avoid that's not here, right, but it's commonly recommended by pediatricians, is proton pump inhibitor. So these are things like Prilosec or Prevacid. Sometimes they go by omeprazole, lansoprazole, and those are more medications. So I avoid medications. Baby's gut is still developing, and medications do disrupt the gut. Any medication does disrupt the gut. So we just want to avoid that as much as possible. And to be honest, a lot of those proton pump inhibitors, well, they're not approved for kids under 1, even if your doctor says it's safe. They're actually not approved for babies. And a lot of times it might provide some relief in the beginning, but a lot of times people that have to be on it chronically, it actually makes things worse a little bit later on. So a lot of times parents will say, yeah, it helped a little bit in the beginning, and then I didn't notice a difference, or they'll say, or it just seemed to get worse. So we really try to avoid and get parents off of these medications as soon as possible. So let's get into the other things you can try. Now, of course, changing the milk is going to be number one, whether that's breast milk or formula. There's things we can do to make that whatever they're drinking more comfortable for them and figuring that out. So that's part of what my job is, and I help parents figure that out. But we have a separate video just about formulas that I will link below. This is just about even, what to do in the meantime while you're transitioning. They're still going to be uncomfortable. They still need some kind of something to help them, right? So these are the things to have on hand. My favorite is some homeopathic remedies. That's predominantly what we use in our house. The Boreon brand, they make one for tummy and they make one for teething. And the teething ones are what we use a lot. And now they make a tummy one as well. It's a little, if you've never used homeopathy, it's considered Eastern medicine. It's a very old form of medicine. It's almost like an energy medicine, to be honest. It's like an energy that's like almost like distilled down into water. I find it very, very hard to describe. I do have a podcast episode where I speak to a homeopathy provider, and she does her best to explain. It's a little bit of a complex concept, to be honest. It's a little abstract, but it works very well. It's a very natural form, and there's no side effects. The body doesn't have to process toxins. There's no chemicals. It's very natural way to help. So we use homeopathy all the time for a variety of ailments and issues. So of course I would recommend something like this. Now there's other things as well, like gripe water. You might have heard of gripe water. What it is basically an herbal blend. And if you're familiar with things that soothe your belly, as I am, you'll know that ginger and fennel are two ingredients that are really helpful for remediating belly issues. So, if your stomach feels a little upset, some ginger tea is fantastic, or having a ginger candy can be very helpful. I'm sure you've heard of using ginger ale, but there's no actual ginger in ginger ale. So that it might have more of a placebo effect than anything, but actual ginger is very well documented as being good for your gut. So basically it's just a little herbal water that you can give to the baby, and it helps them kind of calm down, settle their stomach a little bit. Now I will say that it's sometimes hit or miss. I felt like sometimes when I use this gripe water, it worked really well, and other times it didn't. And I probably can attribute that to maybe one time it was more of a discomfort. One time, maybe it was more gas. And if it's gas, it's not going to maybe get rid of the air bubbles in the belly. I'm going to show you something else for that, actually, that was very, very helpful. The Frida Windi. And I'll tell you, I used this wrong for a very long time before I figured it out. Basically, at the end of the whole box, I figured out what I was doing wrong. But then once I figured it out, I was pretty much hooked. So basically, this is a completely natural way to get the gas out of the baby's belly. We were told just to try things like bicycle kicks, or, gently rubbing their belly, in like this almost like a wave-like motion to try to push the air bubbles down. And that never honestly worked for us. So this was almost like a miracle when we discovered this. I mean, after we relieved him of his gas, it's like he was like night and day child. So this is a really amazing little invention. So basically what you do is you put this stick up the baby's rectum or butt. You see there's like a place, it almost makes it, you can't push it in too far, because there is this this area right here. I know you can't see my mouse, but it'll stop you from going too far. But basically you rub baby's belly, I twist this, kind of in a circle, And at some point you do hear like almost like a whistling sound. And then very shortly after that, a lot of times like a almost like a poop or like a diarrhea will kind of like shoot out of their butt. But my goodness, do they feel relief when that is over? So I have used this very successfully. So I will tell you, these are a little pricey. They do make knockoff ones on Amazon as well that are exactly the same and function the exact same way. So you don't feel like you have to buy the brand name. But it is called the Frida Windi. It does truly change the rest of your day, in my opinion. The other thing I would use is something like a probiotic drop. And specifically for colicky babies, there's a specific strain of probiotic that is better than others for colic. So the most research-backed bacteria is this Lactobacillus reuteri. So it doesn't really matter which probiotic you get. I would just make sure it has this Lactobacillus reuteri in it. And, you know, anything else is just like a bonus because great, like bacteria, we need bacteria in our gut. But that bacteria has been known specifically to help babies who are more colicky, babies who are experiencing gas and discomfort or reflux. So having these on hand are good anyway, especially if you are not breastfeeding, because then baby is not getting any of your gut bacteria. So if you are not breastfeeding for any reason at all and baby is exclusively having formula, I would definitely be putting probiotic drops. You know, you can even just put them right on the nipple of the bottle. And then when they put the bottle in their mouth, they're getting that drop. Okay. So these are my favorite go-tos, right? Especially if you want a more natural way to relieve their, whether it's constipation, colic, reflux. You know, I would say all of these, however, are Band-Aids for the issue of why are they colicky? Why are they having reflux? Right? Usually it is because they have something like a cow's milk protein allergy, which is just super common, honestly, in under 1. A lot of kids grow out of it by the time they're 1. But I know for me, I had to eliminate dairy from what the foods I was eating, so that he was able to consume my breast milk. Some people have to do more than that. So I've met people that had to eliminate dairy and soy. Soy is very similar chemical makeup to the dairy proteins. So in more sensitive children, you have to eliminate both in some cases. A lot of parents will sometimes switch to a formula that is more conducive to, you know, a calmer belly. But I'll go over that in the formula video. So if you're interested in that, be sure to find the link below, and learn about all of the different formulas and what to expect with the different brands and different types of formulas. So I go into that in more detail. All right. Hope that was helpful, and we'll see you in the next video.